It's time for Hostel Discourse, Episode 9. Now, your host, David Rohlfing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Hostel Discourse. We are officially kicking off Season 2 with the much requested, highly anticipated debate special number 2. This time, we actually have a judge in the house. Chris is with us to give us his unbiased opinion and analysis of each of our individual debates in order to choose a winner, unlike last time where we just kind of voted for each other, which didn't work out too well.
Worked out well for me. I won.
Oh yeah. Our returning winner is here, Joe. He is FaceTiming in from Oklahoma City. Much has changed in the hostel since last time. Jacob and Jared are still living here. Joe is at med school in Oklahoma City. I got married and I'm still in Tulsa, but we have all grown up so much in the past 8 months. I re-listened to Season 1 recently and picked out a few funny quotes from you guys, and I want you to guess who said each quote.
Ooh.
Quote number 1. Everybody's got some bad Padawans.
That sounds like something Jacob would say.
Wrong.
You gotta be talking about Obi-Wan. You said it, David.
Jared, you said it.
Oh man, that's a good quote. I make a good point, I think.
Okay, quote number 2. Batman sends emails like a dad sends text messages.
Jacob.
As actually, it was me quoting my little brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, he sent me that in a text. That was the first thing he said about that movie.
Yeah, it wasn't a great movie.
That is correct. Quote number 3. They have to have 9 times their body weight strength, professional level.
That was Joe talking about the sport he was advocating, wasn't it?
It was someone else talking about their sport.
Oh, it was Drake talking about gymnastics.
Yeah. We were like,
9
that's not
times their body
possible,
weight.
Drake.
Yeah, Drake's not good at numbers, except he is.
What was that stupid sport that you picked, Joe?
Hurling?
Hurling.
You mean the world's most athletic sport?
Yeah, sorry. I misspoke.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Next quote. There would have been a lot of tweets crammed in the cattle car going to the concentration camps.
Whoa.
Wow.
Gosh, it's gotta be you, Big D.
It was me.
Yeah. Literally.
Is that during the greatest thing mankind's ever done one?
How'd you know?
How'd I know?
Because you were talking about how the internet was great and how people would have used it during the Holocaust to raise
totally
awareness.
forgot about that. Totally forgot about it. It's mostly just because Big D's the only one that would make some kind of, maybe not a joke.
Offensive joke?
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe. Okay, one more. He uses very angry strokes.
Is that me?
Yep.
Yeah, it's gotta be Joe.
When did I say that?
You're talking about Luke's lightsaber, attacking Darth Vader, I think.
Joe.
He does.
That's weird, man.
That's why he's not the greatest Jedi.
Exactly. All right. I have a few quick questions prepared. If we have any new listeners, I want them to get to know your guys' taste. So quickly go around and name your favorite TV show, movie, and video game. And those can be one-offs or series. Doesn't matter.
My favorite TV show is Scrubs. That's partially, I'm in med school, makes sense. My favorite movie would be Lord of the Rings, just the trilogy in general. And my favorite video game, probably Super Smash Bros.
Very nice.
Specifically the Nintendo 64 version.
Of course. Jacob?
My favorite TV show is 24. My favorite movie is Bernie, starring Jack Black. My favorite video game is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the Nintendo GameCube.
My favorite TV show ever is probably White Collar. Favorite movie, I like Lord of the Rings as well, but I'll pick Return of the King as my favorite because there are 3 movies, Joe. And
yeah, well, the third one wouldn't be very good without the first 2, so suck it.
All right, well, the first 2 exist, Joe. The third one's the best. And favorite video game was Monkey Ball.
Nice. For iOS?
No, for GameCube.
Oh, GameCube. Yeah.
Classic.
Crease.
My favorite TV show is Friends. My favorite movie is Top Gun. And my favorite video game is also Super Smash Bros., particularly the N64 version.
Great minds think alike.
Classic.
Yeah, so do dumb minds.
You just insulted yourself.
Not a smart man.
I'd say my favorite TV show is probably Breaking Bad. It has impressed me the most out of any show I've watched. Favorite movie, I really can't pick one between Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings. They hold equal places in my heart.
If you could only watch one again, what would you watch?
Probably Star Wars, just because Lord of the Rings is done, and Star Wars are going to be more made in the future. So, and then favorite video game, the Halo series, Halo 1 through 3 mostly. After that, they went downhill a little bit. All right, it's time for our new segment, Tolkien Time with Joe.
Woohoo!
This is a new segment where
All
Joe...
right, guys. Today we're going to be reading from Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Also,
Joe, shut up.
What?
Were you not listening?
No.
I was giving you an intro.
Please don't cut that out.
You must have cut out for a second. I didn't hear you.
All right, let's start over.
I beg you to keep that in.
Maybe. All right, we have a new segment now. It's called Tolkien Time with Joe. This is a new segment where Joe reads us a passage from a Tolkien book of his choosing to spark our creative and intellectual juices for the debates.
All right, guys. So today we're going to read my favorite passage from all of the Lord of the Rings books in particular. This is from The Return of the King, all right? And just to set the stage, this is during the Battle of Minas Tirith, when they have just broken open the gates. In rode the Lord of the Nazgul, a great black shape. Against the fires beyond he loomed up, grown to a vast menace of despair. In rode the Lord of the Nazgul, under the archway that no enemy had yet ever passed, and all fled before his face. All save one. There waiting, silent and still, in the space before the gate, sat Gandalf upon Shadowfax. Shadowfax, who alone among the free horses of the earth endured the terror, unmoving, steadfast as a graven image in Rath Dinnan. You cannot enter here, said Gandalf, and the huge shadow halted. Go back to the abyss prepared for you. Go back, fall into the nothingness that awaits you and your master. Go. The Black Rider flung back his hood, and behold, he had a kingly crown, and yet upon no head visible was it set. The red fires shone between it and the mantled shoulders vast and dark. From the mouth unseen came a deadly laughter. Old fool, he said, old fool, this is my hour. Do you not know death when you see it? Die now and curse in vain. And with that he lifted high his sword, and flames ran down the blade. Gandalf did not move, and in that very moment, away behind in some courtyard of the city, a cock crowed. Shrill and clear, he crowed, recking nothing of wizardry or war, welcoming only the morning that in the sky far above the shadows of death was coming with the dawn. And, as if in answer, there came from far away another note. Horns, horns, horns. In dark Mindulin's side, they dimly echoed. Great horns of the north, wildly blowing. Rohan had come at last. Boom!
Brilliant.
That's just a great passage.
Very inspiring and epic.
Also my favorite,
Indeed.
Joe.
All right, this brings us to our debate. I'll quickly go over the rules. It has changed a little bit, and we do have a judge this time around. So each of us will briefly give our stance on the question. We can then argue against each other's stances. Chris will be listening the whole time and analyzing it like he does, collecting the data from our arguments. And then after we are done, we will give final statements, and then Chris will decide a winner for each question. At the end of the debates, we will tally up the points and hopefully crown a different winner than Joe from last time.
Definitely not Joe.
Or hopefully will crown me again.
So, question number 1.
Stupid Joe.
Which magical item from Harry Potter would be the best to have IRL in real life?
I'll go first. Well, many great magical items in Harry Potter, obviously. All good choices, I'm sure. One shines above the rest, or rather is unseen above the rest. The invisibility cloak. I don't need to go over how many uses there are for an invisibility cloak. They're countless, really. So I end my opening statements there.
The classic uncreative answer to this question.
No. I'll follow up because I have the same answer as Jared. Chris, if you aren't familiar, and for our listeners that might not be, this is not just any invisibility cloak. In the Harry Potter universe, you can buy an invisibility cloak and they'll wear off in a few years. This one was actually woven by Death himself. Whoa. It is one of the 3 Deathly Hallows, and this invisibility cloak never loses its power. And it has more cloaking abilities than a regular invisibility cloak. You can't be sensed by other technology or magical trickery. So it is the one true invisibility cloak.
And if I recall, Nobody has ever been found while wearing this cloak.
We have no reason to believe so.
Can I interject real quick and just say, I know I'm pretty late behind the times, but I'm just now starting to go through the Harry Potter series. So if we can do this debate without any spoilers, I would prefer it, but I will not require it. I know it's probably tough.
Noted.
Chris, I'm going to spoil so much for you.
Joe.
I end my opening statement.
Harry dies.
Joe, you're ruining everything.
Is that real?
Give the answer. Give your answer.
Joe, what's your answer?
All right, so Chris, as our judge, and members of the audience as our jury, I'd like you to remember a time in your life when you may have forgotten something. And I bet that was a pretty frustrating experience. So what I'm proposing is, how would you like something where you could fit everything you own into one suitcase? And that's why I picked the suitcase from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, essentially it's a regular size suitcase, but with a magical charm placed on it so that when you get inside the suitcase, it's a large open area with a small house and a lot of furnishings. So that's what I picked.
Joe, are you reading off of a script?
Nope. That was
Joe, for a
straight up.
second, I thought you were going to say the Remembrall.
Yeah, I did too.
What the heck is a Remembrall?
The Remembrant?
No, the Remembrall. It's the little ball Neville gets as a gift.
It glows red if you forget something.
Yeah,
Yeah, but how are you supposed to remember what you've already forgotten?
that's in the script.
I don't get why that would be helpful. Why would I need to be reminded when I forget something?
Joe, that was the point.
It's not the point. You just started that conversation. You started your statement like you were going to have the Remembrall. That would have been just fun. That would have been a fun.
You would never have to forget anything because you'd always have everything right next to you.
Very good, Joe. All right, David, what's yours?
My item is the Philosopher's Stone, or also called the Sorcerer's Stone. It can turn any metal into gold, and it can also be used to brew a potion to give you immortality. I'm not saying I would use that immortality, but the stone would give me unlimited wealth, which would enable me to do many things in this world, including not have to work again and be able to live out my dreams.
Sounds like your wealth is dependent on the price of gold.
I wouldn't tell anybody. How would they know where the gold was coming from besides the earth?
But what if gold plummeted in price and it was worth...
You're living on the gold standard, Big D. Get with the times.
The gold standard is pretty solid, I believe.
Does Harry actually die?
Just don't listen to Joe.
Yeah.
You,
Chris,
Joe.
why don't you just read the books and find out?
I'm going to, but thanks for ruining it for me.
That's just like a classic thing you say when you're trying to spoil a book, is you say the main character dies. Does the Sorcerer's Stone really produce gold? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it turns other metal types into gold.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
All right, whose argument do I get to attack first?
Jared and Jacob, did you pick the same item, or are you
Yes.
saying that... Okay, it is the same.
We picked the same item.
Because I knew Harry's invisibility cloak was
One of the Hallows, yeah.
Hallows.
I would actually like to hear more about... Both David and Joe sold the attributes as it would apply to everyday life, but the invisibility cloak was not provided with as much detail. Could you guys go into some detail as how it might better your everyday life and why you would pick it?
How would you use the cloak?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's some fun things you could do with a perfect invisibility cloak. All right, Big D he's so concerned with gold and money. I will go get some myself with the invisibility cloak. I'll have unlimited money.
Via thievery?
Yeah, via thievery. That's
My
right.
way is legal and a lot easier.
Both unethical.
How is mine unethical?
It's manipulative.
What,
Look, I don't know a
manipulating
lot about-
the elements? Like,
Yeah. Access to unlimited wealth. I think any use of that is probably abuse of power.
what positive way are you going to use the cloak?
It's not, the invisibility cloak is not an everyday use item.
Yeah, that's what we want to take away here.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
So what's the good of it?
Okay, I'm thinking anti-terrorism, extreme surveillance.
It's a world changer.
It really is. You could be an amazing detective,
We're not carrying around our luggage in a case.
a great vigilante. You could become a great vigilante and sneak in on gang meetings and find out crazy secret information.
Yeah, whatever,
that
man. You can do it
could,
all.
Be better used by forces of good. It's not a very practical item, but it's one that you can easily use wisely.
So you want to become a superhero and sit in on mafia meetings? What if they hear you breathe and then they'd shoot you? Like,
No, they can't find
you. It's
you.
not very much protection.
No, that's a lie. They can find you. People can bump into you. They can hear you shuffling around. It's not like a silencing thing.
Please don't assume my own stupidity, Joe.
You can. There's multiple times in the movies when Harry has the cloak on and people kind of like look around because they heard him move.
Yeah, they don't find him.
I'm not talking about. Let's not get into like ridiculous hypotheticals here. Is it impossible to obtain valuable information only by use of the cloak? Like, it does offer the opportunity to find out valuable secret information that could be used for good, right?
Those are all dangerous situations, though, that I don't think you would actually want to be in.
I say that you're wrong.
It's also irrelevant to the argument, I believe.
All right, so you got this cloak. Are you going to start working for a detective agency and be like, yo, guys, I got this cloak I'm going to use?
No,
It's
vigilante.
pretty sweet.
That'd be very unwise.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, listen
So you just
to
have
this.
a secret and you're just coming up with all this random information and they're like, wow, how are you getting all this stuff?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what happened, Joe. It would work. Hey, listen here, Joe. You got a trunk to carry around stuff that you lost. That's an embarrassing pick.
Okay.
Big D, you aren't going to use the immortal thing. You want to die, right? You don't want to live forever. The only gift is unlimited money, is the only thing you have, right?
Yeah, I don't think I would want to use the immortality, but there could be someone who I could, I don't know, sell it to.
Sell it to, right.
Just
or,
money.
you know how much that'd be worth? That'd be the most valuable thing in the world.
Ever, yeah. But you got unlimited money anyway with it, so why sell it? All I'm saying is the only good you get from the stone is money, right?
Yeah. Life-changing money.
Life-changing money.
World-changing money. In the right hands, which are my hands.
We get life-changing money from the cloak. Joe gets to carry his luggage around one suitcase instead of two.
Okay, to address Joe's argument specifically, the greatest good this thing offers is finding lost stuff. But the problem is, you're offering the solution to like losing stuff is putting it in the case. So here's what I don't get: you have to have it to put it in the case, but it's lost. How does that work? Second thing is, even if you did, you would be putting everything into this case. You would lose it inside the case.
No, because the case is a very finite dimension place. You go inside it and there's like a little house and stuff. It's essentially like you're bringing your house wherever you're going. So you can set down that suitcase, open it up, reach in, pull out, I don't know what you want, a dinner, a little lunch.
Okay.
So it's a lunchbox.
Second part about
That's been invented,
second
Joe.
issue to address with the object Joe brings into question. It's completely ordinary in the wizarding world. It's just it's just a suitcase that's had a spell put on it.
Yeah, I don't want some fancy thing that's going to give me everlasting life in real life. Nobody else is a wizard. I don't need some crazy item that's going to, like, if someone were to pick the time turner, I don't want to go back in time and do crazy things. I just want a simple item that's very practical to use. I don't want to have an invisibility cloak that puts me in dangerous situations where I'm undercover.
Okay, well,
You're underselling yourself, Joe.
I think you've also critically misunderstood the question, and I think it will be to my advantage.
I don't have anything bad to say about your choice, Joe, but I think mine is better because it's more life-changing than yours is.
I think eventually someone's going to be like, where's this guy getting all this gold from? And investigations will ensue.
And what would they find? They never assume a rock in my house was producing this gold. And
yeah, I just feel like it draws a little too much attention.
I wouldn't sell enough gold to, I don't know, be investigated either.
Look, all I know is I'm a man of simple tastes, and I know our judge Chris loses things all the time, so I think it would be beneficial for him and for me and for anyone else who just wants a practical item in their possession.
I have nothing left to say.
Chris, have anything else to question us about?
I think I have made my decision.
Fascinating.
Would you like to hear it?
By all means.
No, we just want you to sit there and listen.
Shut up, Joe.
Gosh, as much as it pains me,
Oh, no.
I have to pick Joe on this one.
Oh, my
Yes.
God.
And it really pains me because he just spoiled
my
Harry
gosh.
Potter for me while also insulting me.
That's terrible because you don't know if he spoiled Harry Potter for you.
I do by your hesitations when I asked. And anyway, the reason I picked Joe was more that his item he selected was very easily something that could be applied and used quickly and effectively. The invisibility cloak would be cool, and I would probably sneak into some sports events and like walk around Augusta. But it's the uses that you guys were suggesting for it sound incredibly horrifying to me. And like I know enough about Harry Potter to that it's like if the cloak even slips a little bit, like you can see your hand, or people can just like bump into you and be like, oh, this is someone with a blanket wrapped around them. And
True.
David was a close consideration for me because seemingly unlimited money sounds nice, but I think Joe raised a point that I was thinking also, that if it was actually applied in reality, you'd have to have someone running these gold bars for money for you, and you'd either be doing it in a black market kind of setting, which also sounds horrifying to me, or you would raise a lot of red flags, and even if they could never prove you for anything wrong, you'd eventually be forced into the black market for trading your gold, I think, anyway. So, I have selected Joe, and he's also right. I lose a lot of things. But get more imaginative with your answers than just pulling out a lunch.
All right.
Yeah, that's my bad. There's a lot of uses to it. I didn't expand enough, but
Like, even on the golf course, you could pull out just one club instead of carrying all your clubs around.
oh yeah, for sure.
1 point for Joseph.
You can save a lot of money on housing. You could literally live in your suitcase.
That'd be pretty
All
cool.
right, Joe.
Just saying.
You already won.
Debate question number 2. Which Disney character would make the best president of the United States? And I think I mentioned this is restricted to cartoon Disney characters.
I was totally going to go for Johnny Tsunami.
Xenon.
Xenon. Babe. Let's start with Joe, the defending champ.
All right, fair enough. For my selection for the President of the United States, I chose the genie from Aladdin, specifically the genie after he has been freed. So at this point, the genie is a free man. He is all powerful, as it kind of implies. And so I know at the end he wants to go on vacation, and seems like he probably wouldn't care too much about the U.S. government, but I think eventually he's going to get bored of that. And I think when he really focuses on it, he could make a really funny and a really useful president.
Interesting thought, Joe.
Plus, it's the voice of Robin Williams. That's always a plus.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
I chose Mufasa.
Oh my goodness. Yikes.
Mufasa was the head of his lion tribe. He showed a lot of characteristics in the movies of strength, heart, caring for his family, sacrifice, being a good leader, taking care of his people, including a diverse set of animals into his clan, whatever you want to call it, and treating them all equally, not discriminating the monkeys or the antelopes. He could have just
Not the
gone
hyenas.
with the lions, but he didn't. And I think everything he showed in the movies would point to him being a great leader for our country and what we're going through today.
Fascinating. I picked the real king of the jungle, Tarzan. Well, for some important reasons. One, and probably most importantly, is he's a human being. Not a cat. He's not a floaty genie thing. He's a human. He qualifies for the office of President of the United States. That's an important one. Secondly, he has also led a tribe of his own. He certainly would know more of humans and human affairs than Mufasa. Yeah, he exemplifies certain qualities of leadership. He's willing to sacrifice himself for others. He kind of leads by example, that kind of thing. That's my opening statement for Tarzan.
Jacob?
I would nominate Helen Parr, a.k.a. Elastigirl, a.k.a. Mrs. Incredible, for a few reasons. One is she has a track record of public service, risking her life for the greater good. I think that shows great values. She's also...
Has short hair.
Not important. She also is a mom, a family, can't say family man, but...
woman, I think is the word
family
you're looking
woman.
for.
And that doesn't really... I don't think it says very often, but she's got great family values. I love the way she shows leadership to her children in times of great need. She knows how to set goals, delegate tasks. I think that qualifies her greatly to be a president.
Fascinating answer as well.
Wow. Terrible answers, guys.
Dang.
So Tarzan grew up with the apes in the jungle.
Right you are, my friend.
What types of leadership qualities did he demonstrate in the movies?
Oh,
that would be very necessary for our president to have?
I would say many. So you talked about what's important right now, and you think Mufasa would bring good stuff to the table right now. I think one thing the country needs right now is unity, unifying. Tarzan took two different species, brought them together peacefully. That being humans and gorillas.
I thought they were brought together unpeacefully.
Well, no. So that's a good point, though, Chris. He shows in this battle where there are bad humans trying to hurt his people. He shows extreme courage, fighting them off, saving his people, making sure they're okay. I think for a president, some of our best presidents, maybe one of the most important qualifications is having served in the military. You're the commander in chief. It helps to have seen battle. It really does. You're commanding soldiers, and making decisions about their lives is hard, and it's probably much more wisely done if you have been a soldier yourself at some time, which Tarzan was in a certain kind of way. So I think that goes in his favor. He's a unifier. He has no care of politics, right? He's not raised to get in this political system and try and get elected. No, he just wants what's best for people. And he's not a cat, and he's not a genie who doesn't care about anything.
Hey, listen,
He's not a woman.
Tarzan would make a terrible president of the United States. His entire knowledge of first world countries is based on a slideshow he watched that Jane showed him, and the only thing he cared about in the slideshow was the picture of the guy giving flowers to the girl because he had a crush on her. This guy's not fit to lead anybody, and he's not fit to leave the jungle and even adapt into society, let alone run a country with any knowledge of how it works.
Hey, Joe, can I throw something your way, my friend?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Tarzan grew up, how long do you think in the jungle? What, 25 years maybe?
Yeah, sure.
All right. 25 years speaking ape, right? Ooh, ah. That's his language, all right? He learns English in, like, weeks. Weeks! At age 25, with no experience. That shows, like, extreme intelligence. He would pick up on first world living much faster than anybody else could.
You don't know how long that time lapse is in the movie. I'm pretty sure it goes through seasons.
All right, months, a year, it doesn't matter.
Average time.
He learned... No. Hey, Joe, you can back me up on this, can't you? There's a certain amount of time where if you don't learn language, you're just not learning it. And he goes 25 years and he still learns it. That shows pretty insane intelligence. He would pick up on things extremely quickly.
That's true, but he did learn language. He wasn't just like an orphan boy who'd never seen or heard from another being anymore.
Tell me gorillas have a language. They just make sounds to each other.
They do have a language.
No, they don't, Joe.
This is not our
in that movie,
okay? Joe,
tell me that they don't have a language when they're literally talking to each other.
We're not arguing about language, all right? That's for another day.
They're talking to each other in the movie.
They're making ooh, ah sounds. Whenever the humans are around, you can tell they're just making noises.
He says,
to each other.
"Hey, mom," and the mom gorilla's like, "Oh, hey, son." Like, that's language.
Yeah, but you know they're just making sounds to each other. They're just movie makers did us all a favor, so we didn't have to listen to ooh, ahs all the time.
Well, if that's what they can communicate with ooh, ahs, I would consider that a language.
There's undeniably gorilla language in the movie.
Yeah, good point, Mr. Judge.
We're choosing the characters from the movies. In the movies, they speak English.
They don't speak English.
Well, they're translated to English.
They're translated to English from
gorilla.
ooh, ahs, which is like not really a language.
Whatever. Mufasa speaks English. Let's pretend, okay?
Yikes.
All right, let's move on to like Helen Parr here. She is a great family woman, I guess, except the first like 30 minutes of the movie is their family falling apart because she can't keep anything in line.
Oh, that's a good point, Joe.
Oh.
Some mom she is.
Will kill you. I thought it was because Mr. Incredible.
From what I saw of that movie, I don't know what you're judging this by, Joe. It seemed like a reasonable management of two teenagers and a baby. The family is not falling apart.
They're not doing too hot, man.
They're not doing well.
Refute that.
I mean, if it takes a giant calamity, like having to go fight a giant superhero killing robot to bring their family together, I don't know how she's just going to bring a country together.
She's going to start a war with the giant robot to bring us together. That's not cool, bro.
Maybe.
She shouldn't do that. That makes her unfit for president. Back to Mufasa. Dude is a cat. Like, how can you put a lion as president?
He's a majestic lion who is a very good leader of his people.
True.
Have you seen Aslan in Narnia with real people? I think he'd be a great leader. Joe, the genie, you mentioned him being funny. How is that going to help him be president? He should he should host a stand-up show. Like, how is the genie a good choice?
Well, first off, charisma is very important in a leader. And secondly, you have a being in charge of the country that is literally can do anything. You want to talk about a housing crisis, and he says, here, let me build 400 houses for you in Chicago that are really nice, and these people can live in them.
Hey, Joe, I got one for you.
That is also the negative effect to the solution of the housing crisis.
I know. Well, okay, not the housing crisis, just homeless crisis is what I meant.
Hey, Joe.
I do see your point.
We're talking about President of the United States here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The United States, as I'm sure you know, is a republic. Certain checks and balances are put in place so that presidents can't assume too much power and take things over.
No, that's true.
The genie is antithetical to the United States government. He shouldn't be president out of principle. He has too much power.
No, the genie has literally spent his entire life serving others. That's his job. That's all he knows.
Because he was a slave. He had to. He don't want to do that.
I'm sure if you elected him and gave him the choice, he'd love to do that. He'd love to help people out.
And what happens when he decides he doesn't want to?
Well, then he can quit.
Got no check on his power, Joe. Got no check on his power.
You don't need to check on his power. He's a good being. And also importantly, he has a very solid knowledge of the Middle East and how that all works, so he'd be useful in foreign relations.
Yeah, sharp point, Joe.
I think one of the main issues or main contenders is Mufasa, and I just want to say that Mufasa is literally a king already, and I think that would make a terrible person to be president because he's just going to assume that he literally runs everything. That guy would have no checks and balances.
I offered the only American.
That's a valid point.
Mufasa has a track record of bringing together a diverse group of animals. He can bring together a diverse group of people, which is what is in the U.S. right now. We are a melting pot of cultures that are divided right now because of certain circumstances, and Mufasa would bring them together with his past experiences and knowledge that he's gained from those experiences.
David, you said that he unites people, but Jared at the very beginning mentioned that the hyenas were not unified.
The hyenas are like ISIS.
Yeah,
the bad
he's
guys.
not a nice person. The hyenas literally kicks him out of his country.
They could be portrayed as a beaten social class.
Mufasa saved Zazu from the hyenas. They're the bad guys. He defeated the bad guys.
I also think another issue with Mufasa is maybe he's a little too trusting of people that are clearly a bad guy. Like, you don't need to have a super high intellect to realize that Scar is not a good guy from the start of that movie, and he's way too trusting of him, and it causes him to die.
That's a good point. He probably doesn't have a high intellect, though, because he's a cat.
That's true.
Chris, any clarifying questions you need to be answered?
I'm a little torn right now. I would like to say that I'm approaching the answer to this question as the contestant not needing to be human or American. I don't want to get so realistic with a question that is pretty out there.
They're all cartoons.
That's probably a good idea.
I mean, Helen Parr would be the only legitimate option for a president.
Any concluding remarks? I think I've made my decision.
I'd like to hear it.
Go for it.
I was torn between all of your arguments at certain points, but I have to go with who seems to be the best leader of a large group of people, and I think that's clear-cut Mufasa.
Mufasa!
He's by far the most polished leader, has history of being just kind of the classic good guy who does everything right in leadership and dies because of the circumstances of the movie. So hopefully he makes it through his 4-year term.
Yeah, he's a pretty good choice.
Thank you. I get a point.
Almost went Helen Parr there.
Almost with Tarzan, is that what you said?
I was liking Tarzan until Joe's slideshow comment. That was pretty funny.
That was funny, but that's yeah, that was funny, Joe. Good job.
So you just didn't like the genie, huh?
No, I liked Jared's argument against it. There'd be no checks and balances on a guy who can kind of manipulate magic into anything he wanted it to be.
So it's like Captain America's Civil War.
I don't.
Maybe Joe. Who knows?
Fair enough.
Literally no one. No one knows.
Next debate question. Which fictional creature would make the best pet?
I'm really excited about this one.
David, you're the defending champ.
I am. My fictional creature is the griffin.
Uh-oh.
The griffin is half lion, half eagle. So I think the griffin would be a great pet because, first of all, they're really sweet looking. They are majestic. You can ride on their backs, which would be amazing, having personal flying transportation. They have talons.
Talons are good.
And the eagle head, as opposed to like a lion head or some other more ferocious creature, I think would be more tameable and wouldn't be too like horrifying to bring into public spaces or to keep in your backyard or something like that. So that's why I chose the griffin.
I should go next. We share an answer, David.
Ah,
Wow.
I won't add much until question round.
Jacob?
See, that is a good answer for so much of my life when asking myself what the greatest fictional pet would be. It always comes down to the legendary Pokemon Lugia, the flying psychic Pokemon.
Gosh.
It's got telepathy. It can also fly. It is a benevolent being. It's fully conscious, which I understand brings into question certain an ethical dimension to like keeping a conscious being as a pet and everything. But
Yeah, it's kind of weird and messed up.
I think we can
and
look past that. I think we can look past that. You would also be a considerable force to be reckoned with. No one would really want to be your enemy. And I would like that very much.
All right. I was actually thinking that someone else was going to take the one I'm going to say, and then I'd have to pick something else, but no one did. So I'm going to go for Doug from the movie Up in Pixar's movie Up. Look, you guys have great, cool creatures, but not very plausible in real life. Similar to the invisibility cloak, they're both very dangerous creatures. I just want a dog that can talk, and I just want to be able to hang out with this cool dog and interact with it, and it's a very loving and benevolent dog itself.
The benevolent dog.
I'd love to get into I'd like to make the first rebuttal.
By all means.
Doug can't talk. He has a collar that translates his thoughts to speech or something. Doug is a regular dog.
Unless you invent the collar with Doug is a golden retriever, which I have already.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to rule me out on a technicality that Doug doesn't magically come with his collar. It's a fictional creature with a collar.
I'll buy that, but at the same time, it's you're still just like it's a relatively cool dog.
And it brings an interesting question. Like, do you really want to know what dogs are thinking? Like,
yeah.
I think it'd be very annoying.
Yeah.
Because they're stupid and they just be thinking, food, I need to pee. It'd be the most annoying thing ever.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think, though.
They'd be very affirming, Joe.
Look, you guys are talking about having a griffin that's literally the equivalent of having a live lion or tiger that just chills with you. Like,
Nope.
You don't think that's a hazard in any way?
That's not the same
It's an
thing.
eagle-headed lion body.
Yeah,
eagle
that's even
talons with wings. It'd be no
It's
different
a
than
flying lion.
And be no different than keeping a horse in a stable in your backyard. Only it's
Extremely different, actually.
Okay, they're different, but like there are plenty of instances in the fictional world where griffins and light creatures are tamed. They can be pets.
in the Chronicles of Narnia, the griffins fight for the good forces and drop rocks on the forces of the ice.
I remember that.
Witch.
Oh yeah,
That was pretty cool.
that is cool.
Yeah, that's all good. The Narnia,
There's no
one,
ice witches in real life that need to have rocks dropped on them.
Yeah, the Narnian griffins aren't tamed.
Doug does.
Ooh.
The Narnian griffins aren't tamed, and even if you did tame one similar to how you would a horse, they can still be easily provoked and would be, I would say, 10 times more dangerous than a horse when provoked.
Yeah, it's possible. Let's think about this Pokemon,
Yeah,
Lugia.
I think about it every day.
No, whoa, whoa. All right, listen. It's a cool Pokemon, no doubt. One of the coolest, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
This whole like thirst for power thing, first of all, that's a little concerning. Second of all, Lugia is not invincible by any means.
Yeah.
And if you have such a strong Pokemon as to pose a threat to other people, have enough power to whatever you want to do, that's gonna draw some attention. And I wouldn't be shocked if your old friend Lugia was taken out pretty quick by I bet old Mufasa wouldn't hesitate to put the army on Lugia if you're talking about posing a threat to people. That's too much. You don't want that attention. You don't want that Pokemon. You want that power. You don't know anything about Lugia.
Can your Pokemon talk to you? If it's psychic, how does it communicate like what it's reading from your mind?
It can. What's that called?
Telepathy?
Telepathy is like mind reading, I guess. It talks into your brain.
Oh,
so you're gonna keep this sentient being as a slave?
No,
that is what you're doing, is it not?
No,
I mean, you chose him as a pet.
That's messed up. This is 2016, pal.
I'm taking probably a different sense to the word pet than you guys are.
Slave, yeah.
Yeah, no. Companion, I think, counts.
Let's talk about practicality here. You guys both pick creatures that are going to cost you a ton of money to take care of. You have to feed a lion with a eagle's head. I don't even know what that eats. Is it fish or is it like lion food?
Yeah, it's just fish, Joe.
Number 2, you picked Louis, whatever. That is this giant being that's going to take a ton of food and a ton of shelter for keeping it out of the elements and stuff.
You know what, Joe? To offset the cost of the fish for my griffin, I could easily just create a YouTube channel. I get millions of subscribers for people to just watch the griffin on my griffin vlog every day. That would offset the cost.
GoPro videos of riding the griffin. Hey,
until
Joe,
the government comes and shuts you down because they want to do experiments on your magical creature.
Go buy a golden retriever from the pet store.
Adopt, please.
Couldn't talk to me.
Or from the shelter.
Also, wouldn't Lugia be the easiest to keep because you can store it in a Pokeball?
I don't think Lugia's going to hang out in a Pokeball.
Yeah, I don't think Lugia's the type to just chill.
Yeah, that's just a ridiculous thing to say.
Name one time you saw Lugia in a Pokeball in the movies.
I've played the games. Definitely a more definitive medium for deciding what Lugia is like.
Fascinating. I don't agree.
Could you actually catch Lugia in the game?
Yes, Joe.
Oh, that's some crap.
Okay. Hey, Jacob. I want you to explain what you want to do with all this power. Huh? Why do you want a creature so powerful that people will fear you and you'll have all this power over people, huh?
It's not. I don't want people to fear me. I want respect. No, that's not either.
Gosh. You're going to make some bad decisions with this Pokemon, it sounds like to me. It's for your own good we need to not let you have.
No, there's a certain level of, I think, security to having a legendary Pokemon looking out for you. I don't see myself ever wanting to use Lugia for intimidation or any sort of malicious intent, right? So
I think there's a level of security that goes too far. You switch from security to posing a potential threat, and a pretty wide scale threat if Lugia is as powerful as you say, and that's not going to go over well. Too much attention. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of problems with that, and it's not going to work out for you.
Chris, any clarifying questions you need to ask?
Real quick, I only am familiar visually with the original 151. Can you give me a brief description of what Lugia looks like?
Sure. Yeah, it's not exactly a bird.
Bird type, though?
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's probably
fly.
got like a 60 or 70 foot wingspan.
Wow.
But also, it lives underwater. Yeah.
But it can function out of water?
Yeah.
He can fly.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like the something related to the 3 legendary birds too? I mean, it's bigger, obviously, but
yeah. I mean, that's what the plot of the movie is. But here, Chris, lying around, I've got the old game.
Perfect. Oh, okay.
Look, all I know is I don't want a flesh-eating flying lion that I have to pay thousands of dollars on, and I don't want a sentient being that's going to have PETA breathing down my neck because I'm keeping it in a tiny little ball. I just want a dog that can talk.
I respect that, Joe.
A simple man.
Simple taste. Iowa boy. You got to like that.
I'd say the Griffin, much cooler than just having the Golden Retriever and much more practical than having the massive 70-foot wingspan Pokemon.
Well said, Big D. Well said.
That's all I have.
Chris, have you made a decision?
I have made a decision. The easiest decision was last place. Joe has led off by exemplifying the storage of his magical suitcase by saying you could carry your lunch in it. And then when asked to pick a fictional character as a pet, picked a golden retriever.
That can talk.
I totally agree that the collar makes it talk.
It would maybe be funny for 3 hours in your house. After that, it'd be the most... You'd remove the collar,
Talk
Joe.
to me when you're missing an arm because your griffin ate it.
I must say, I am assuming full compatibility between the owner and the pet. So I'm saying
Well,
the
that just
relationship
doesn't make any sense.
is very good.
Fair assumption.
I think both of the remaining options would be incredibly cool. A griffin is just a very intimidating figure and majestic, and the Pokemon Luigi? Sorry.
Luigi.
Has all sorts of different powers. I picked Lugia as the winner.
Dang.
Come on.
And I picked Lugia because it seemed kind of like the best of all three worlds. Lugia can talk to you, just like Doug, but can do it with or without technology. Lugia, like the Griffin, can fly you places, which would be dope. Lugia has at least the possibility, if not a practical possibility, of being stored in a very small Pokeball despite its size. And it also has an incredible amount of power that is very appealing to me.
Jacob gets a point.
I know how to cover.
1-1-1, and Jared has 0.
I'll get there one day.
Jared, you gotta stop taking sides with people. Or people gotta taking sides with Jared. We need individual arguments, you know?
I mean, you could have picked another creature if you had a backup, but...
No backups.
Oh well.
I guess Jacob picked your side on the invisibility cloak. That's on you, Jacob.
All right. Final debate question. Are the Olympics good or bad for humanity? A debate question that we have talked about previously during the Summer Olympics, and we thought it'd be a good idea to bring it to the podcast.
There's only two answers to this question.
Right.
You can start, Jacob.
I remember reading a lot of crazy stories about specifically the Rio Olympics this summer that were just terrible, terrible stories about the working conditions of the people that built the stadiums. And then the Olympics have a long history of bad living conditions for the athletes, and especially the way the stadium get completely forgotten afterwards. One of the weirdest experiences I had last semester in traveling abroad was going to the 2008 Olympic Stadium in Athens. And the place is a ghost town. It's completely dilapidated.
Dilapidated. Whoa.
It's the best word. It's the only word that came to mind, seeing how crazy it was. Just empty. And you can tell it was, for just a few weeks, a really cool place to hang out, I guess. But it seems like a waste of money to build these crazy stadiums all over the world to use once. Of course, the health and safety and eventually the death toll the Olympics have started to take is enough for me to want to reevaluate. I say no.
Okay. I say yes, they are good. I do have a rebuttal for that, but I guess first I'll give my reasons why the Olympics are a good thing. For a lot of athletes in various sports, the Olympics are the peak of competition for them. I think that overall, the Olympics stand for unity and peace between nations, which I think is a very positive thing. If the Olympics were taken away, many sports around the world, athletes would not choose to go into those sports because there's not that high level to compete at. I think sports are a great thing for a lot of countries who don't have much to hope for and to strive for in life, but small, like African countries who are really good long distance runners can strive to be in the Olympics for that sport. So I think that the Olympics are just a really good platform for people in every country to show off their talent and show off some good aspects of their country, even if their economy is struggling or if they don't have much else going for them.
I'll take the side that they're good for the world. You know, the world needs something to bring it together, to keep it together, unite it. There's not much that does that, really. The Olympics are one of the few things that do it, and if only for a month. I think it's important to have a symbol like that, where you know almost the whole world comes together to interact, compete together. There are definitely drawbacks. You make good points, Jacob, but I think the the symbolism of the Olympics, the significance of it in that way is worth it. It's worth it overall. You got to have something holding the world together. That's not the way I want to say that, but I'll start there. Joe, you got something to add?
I'll put my 2 cents in. I think that the Olympics are a good thing, but conditionally. And I think currently they're not a good thing, but I think if we establish a way where the Olympics were held in the same location every year or every 4 years, and it was in a non-partisan like island or some sort of location that's owned specifically by the Olympics or the Olympic committee or whatever you want to say, and that every 4 years countries would just come there and have their events, and that would fix the problems with, these third world countries, or not third world necessarily, I know Brazil's not, but these countries that can't necessarily sustain the money that it would take to build large stadiums that are just going to go to waste after you finish them. And so I think if you establish something like that, it would be a good thing.
Olympic Island.
Olympic Island.
I'm all about it, Joe.
Patented.
Jacob, you brought up being in Athens and seeing those rundown stadiums. I mean, I think that most of the negative working conditions and stories like that, deaths maybe, building the stadiums and stuff, have been in countries with suffering economies and maybe bad laws for working conditions. Brazil, Greece's economy is doing terribly. I don't remember what year the Olympics were there, but like countries that can actually build stadiums and then use them afterwards for sports teams to practice in or whatever, I think that's important. Not to, I guess countries usually volunteer for it because it brings lots of attention to their country and stuff like that, and maybe revenue. But yeah, it has been bad for some countries' people, but I just think they need to make smarter decisions about which countries are hosting the Olympics.
Right. But the smart decisions aren't being made. It leads to deaths. At the end of the day, like, you have to say, okay, the Rio Olympics, yeah, they're great. They bring the world together and all this stuff at the cost of, what I just read, 11 people that built the stadiums due to bad working conditions that would not have been the case in a larger, more well-equipped city. As far as just being this highest echelon of competition, that's going to exist with or without the Olympics. People are going to pick sports they like and want to be the best at them, whether or not the Olympics are there. So the Olympics are extremely ceremonial. They kind of have this trademark thing on gold medals. Like, it's a very idealistic thing. I think the glory of the Olympics is it's a social construct. At its best is, probably a good thing. It's just so dire right now, I think that, I don't know. I think the last Olympics would be better not happening.
The only point I make is that there are a few things that attempt to unite the whole world for extended amounts of time. I think the more we have, the better. The Olympics is the main one. Costs are high. The deaths are not a direct result of the Olympics. And I think that having that symbol of unity is too important.
There are probably construction deaths in Brazil not related to the Olympics. I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure countries like Brazil where there'd be deaths because they're trying to construct a stadium, if they're trying to construct a skyscraper, I'm sure people have died too. So yeah, I would say that the deaths aren't like a direct result of the Olympics existing necessarily.
Yeah, look, I do disagree with you guys about how it's all good, because I agree with Jacob on the fact that this construction stuff is dangerous and it is a waste. These Olympic villages just get left to rot after you're done using them, and at best they become a tourist attraction, or occasionally you might be able to hold some kids' soccer tournament there and act like you're using it, but you're really not. And I've been to the Olympic Village in Berlin, and that one was cool, but it was mostly because of the history, because it took place in 1930 whatever, and it was, during the German regime, during the Nazi regime, and that was cool to see. But if it was just some random Olympics that took place a long time ago, I wouldn't care about it, and I think it's a waste of resources and would be better used as Olympic Island.
Joe, I'm not saying everything about the Olympics is good. I think I conceded earlier that there are some big drawbacks. But my overall point is that the ideals of the Olympics are too important.
No, yeah, and I agree about the ideals. I feel that it should be edited somehow.
Joe, who would be in charge of Olympic Island?
The game maker.
That's a good point. Yeah, probably the Olympic Committee. And then the other issue is what would happen during the 3 years when you're not using it, which is a valid point. But I think you could definitely afford to hire people to just live there and maintain it and keep it running long enough during the 3 years between Olympic events. I'm sure they have the budget for that.
I got it, Joe. The island sinks when the Olympics aren't happening. It becomes a habitat for fish.
Atlantis.
And Lugia.
And Lugia.
And Lugia. It would literally be Atlantis, but for the Olympics.
Jacob, you mentioned sports not having the Olympics, like they'd find another way to have top-level competition, but nobody would watch top-level air pistol competition. But I think
No one does anyway.
during the Olympics, people do.
No one does.
I did. I mean, there are plenty of small sports like that nobody would watch. I mean, I would never see wrestling. I wouldn't care about a wrestling top-level tournament. But during the Olympics, people get to be on a world stage. It's totally different than having separate sports leagues.
There's too many games that can be successfully covered by one network. Countries only broadcast the ones that they have there. The Americans are completely dominant in so many different games.
That's the reason it should stay, I think.
A game like rifle shooting does not lose its core audience. It loses the extremely marginal people that just see it on TV during the Olympics and say, hey, look, this is interesting for about 5 minutes. That does not affect the quality of the game and the level it's being competed at, which is what's really important. That will remain whether or not the Olympics do.
I disagree.
I've made my point, my main point. It's about the ideals, and I don't care so much about the obscure games and stuff. In fact, I think it'd be a lot better off without some of the really obscure stuff, like speed walking. But the best sport in the Olympics, in my opinion, my favorite one to watch, is the biathlon. Are you familiar?
Skiing and shooting?
Skiing and shooting.
Pretty dope.
And
James Bond style.
Yeah. Yeah, they like cross country ski, and then they stop at a shooting station and shoot some targets, and they keep going, and it's a race. Love that one.
Yeah, pretty great.
Yeah. Better than hurling, Joe.
Look, I think the biathlon's fun to watch. I've never understood why it's a sport. You're combining two very different things. Very unrelated.
Only unrelated if you're not James Bond.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
All right, Chris, do you have any questions? Have you come to a conclusion?
Honestly, I haven't. This one's been tough.
Well, we'll give you some more time.
Just listen to your heart, Chris.
Listen to your heart.
You have the power. You love power tripping, don't you?
I am torn between who I think made the best argument and my personal biases that lead me to an agreement with another person.
Tough place to be.
Who are these two people?
Well, my personal biases, I've heard this question debated before, and the solution that I think might help the Olympics is basically what Joe said, but not quite so kind of existential. It's having kind of a rotating 5 or 6 cities.
You can do like one per continent. That'd be cool.
Sure, something like that. So you have one city per continent, and it's stable infrastructure and higher standards for the qualities of the cities and countries as to avoid health scares or risking athlete lives for securities, yada, yada, yada. I think Jacob made the best argumentative points, and it's hard to separate my personal biases, but I think if I'm being completely objective about it, I would have to say Jacob is the winner.
Heartbreaking.
I know.
This was a tough one.
I'm only heartbroken at my unjust elimination.
I will say Jared got the short end of the stick quite a few ways. People agreed with him, and so he was arguing alongside another twice.
Well, that was his fault one of those times.
I also think Jared was the best deconstructor of other people's arguments.
Honorary award, Jared. Best deconstructor.
That's
Jared
actually that's
Jared
all
puts
I
up
want
the
to
big
be.
goose egg.
That's such a douche.
Well, congratulations, Jacob. You are the new champion of the Hostel Discourse debate.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being our judge, Chris. I hope it was fun and enlightening.
Yes,
It was
thank you,
very
Chris.
fun. Thank you
Thanks,
for having me.
please.
You know I love power.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We are kicking off season 2, and I hope you tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.
So long.
Thanks for listening to Hostel Discourse. Subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. And check out our other social media accounts linked in the show notes. Join us next time for more inexhaustible debate over the most questionable of topics.